Okay, welcome back to the Jiu-Jitsu Mindset. My name is Pete Deley, and Professor Lucas is away, but we're gonna soldier on without him. We send him our best. As I might have mentioned 2 episodes back, I'm now a grandfather for the first time. So my baby granddaughter Rhea has come to the world, and like all new parents, my daughter and her husband are tired. And so submission coffee remains a part of their life. And for those of you competing this season, it still remains a performance enhancing drug exclusion. So you can buy it without any fear. Go to the jujitsumindset.com if you like our t-shirts or want some coffee. The divine smiles on us every week, and this week is no exception. We get to talk to fascinating people about jujitsu and jujitsu's intersection with all the other great things we're all interested in. And so, Professor Adam, thank you for spending time with us this week. We're really grateful that you were willing to take time from your schedule to talk.
Yeah, of course, man. Happy to be here. I love coffee, and it is definitely the only mood or mind altering substance that I imbibe these days. So, coffee, real good.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, my drug of choice as well. Um, we, you know, have a habit here of instead of going through the great resumes of everybody that comes and joins us, we instead kind of just jump into talking. And one of the things that always I'm curious about is if you weren't pouring, this energy and passion that you're pouring into not just jujitsu, because you have a healing practice as well, and I know are a student to even expand your healing powers beyond that. But if you weren't focused here, is there an alternative universe that's obvious to you that hey, you'd be out wrangling cobras in India or doing whatever you might be doing? Is there something clear, or is it just impossible even to conceive of a different life?
Yeah. So, first of all, Adam's fine. No professor needed. I'm just a regular dude who found this kind of weird hobby, and I've just been doing it long enough uh, to kind of learn a thing or two, and so I'm happy to share that with people. But yeah, I always the honorifics always kind of weird me out a little bit. So coach is okay too in a pinch. Um, so what would I be doing if I hadn't found jujitsu? It's tough to say, man. Like I was kind of a wayward teen and wayward youth, and I was not athletic at all. Like I was not into like team sports, especially, but I wasn't into sports. Period. Like I used to like to draw and skateboard, and and then when I turned like 12 or 13, kind of got a little turned around with alcohol and drugs and stuff, and just getting into all kinds of trouble. And so when I was about 27, 28 years old, I got my stuff together and found fitness and a passion for fitness. And about a year after that, I found jujitsu. And so I was already kind of like set on a path that was going in a positive direction. And I think jujitsu really added to that. So it's hard to say, like, um, what I would have. It definitely changed my life because it's what I do. Like my entire life is centered around combat sports, like professionally, socially, like all of my most meaningful relationships, aside from my marriage and my family, are all related to combat sports. And the way that I found combat sports is like I got my first fitness gig, and I was working in a gym on 44th and Lexington in New York City, in Manhattan. And there was this guy there, Fareed. Shout out Fareed. He was a white belt for about 6 months or something at that point. And to me, he was like Helio Gracie. You know what I mean? Like he had all the secrets of jujitsu. And he was like, yeah, he was like, on Wednesdays we'll go on the stretch mats upstairs in the kind of back corner of the gym where nobody really is, and it's like I'll show you some stuff. And I was like, oh great. And he just proceeded to like viciously triangle me, probably like the only submission that he knew at the time, for like 6 months straight. And it was like I fell in love immediately. You know what I mean? And again, like there was no structure. It was just, I was not being taught any technique. It was just basically surviving with Fareed, who was
Right.
like jacked and strong and like probably 10 years younger than me at the time. Um, and all I remember is just that post training clarity. Like now I kind of know
Yeah.
what that is, but but that first time, like when I look back to those days, that's what I remember. I remember like after the hour was up and like Fareed and I would go back to the break room and like have our lunch and get ready for our, afternoon clients. Just kind of my headspace was different than it had ever been, you
Yes, right.
know? And I think anybody who's on the mats can identify with that. And so yeah, so my life was heading in that direction and in a good direction at that time. And then I just decided, I probably need a little bit more instruction than Fareed was able to give me at that point in time. And so then that's when I actually like joined the gym and started training. But so where would I be without it? I don't know. It's hard to really say, but I do know that I can't picture my life without it.
I'm curious about like the artistic part of you, as you said, I mean, drawing and being a visual artist and at that young age, that is, um, does that part of your brain connect to the physicality of jujitsu? Could there, for me, the science and art of jujitsu or is a certain amount of vocabulary that you must learn, in my opinion, before you can break the rules of that vocabulary. And
Mhm.
yet, the most elegant physical things I watch seem to be coming out of nowhere. They're being invented because of the needs of the moment. I'm just curious if you think of that as a connection or if they're just separate things, like they're not connected at all.
I think so. I mean, like we can get into like the physiology of it and like how there are certain parts of the brain that are responsible for like abstract thinking and
Hmm.
symbolism and like how you express certain things. And I think all of that is in some way related to jujitsu. It's like, we can follow. I mean, in the beginning, a lot of us do this. We follow these kind of cookie cutter recipes. It's like, okay, I put my thumb here, I breathe out of my left nostril, I move my
Right,
leg
right.
like this, and now I have this submission. You know what I mean? Um, and then the further along the path we go, we start to see, oh, I can do this instead. I can express myself in this way. There's not even a name for this submission, but I know it's going to hurt them, and I'm going to do that. So, ow, that's I always say if they tap, it's jujitsu. You know what I mean? And so, um, so you can start to find new and creative ways, and think in terms that are kind of like to use a corny kind of often used quote, think outside the box.
Sure.
And so I think art and martial arts, there's a lot of kind of overlap in there in how we express it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I think you have to go through the discipline of having someone show you how it's been done and been successful. And I think it takes a long time of practicing things before you can, never mind mastery, but competence before you start to move outside. As you were learning, I mean, you were certainly a young man compared to us sitting in front of each other right now, but you were, at the time, you might not have thought of yourself as a young athlete compared to maybe the people you were around. Was the acquisition of jujitsu's techniques and principles something that came easily to you and was intuitive, or was it hard? Like, how is it different than learning other things you might have learned?
I think some aspects of like certain types. I remember the first time I saw, um, I was watching, I was about a year in, and I'm like, I've got the bug at this point.
Okay.
I'm like obsessed with jujitsu. I'm thinking about it around the clock, and I started watching film of just competitors who I respected and I thought were interesting. And I remember seeing, and I did like mostly gi in the beginning. I almost exclusively gi for like the first 2 years. And I remember seeing Keenan Cornelius do like a spider guard sweep, just like a real basic spider guard sweep. And I was just like, I can do that. Like the minute I saw it, I was like,
Okay.
I am gonna. And I went to class that day, and I did it to like everybody, all the other white belts, not the good people, but like
Right,
all
right.
the other white belts,
Yeah.
because and that just like clicked into my brain.
Interesting.
And then today, many years later, I could not tell you like guillotines, and I trained with Marcelo Garcia for years. Like my guillotines are awful. Like I have no feel for them. I feel like
Okay.
am I in the right position? And I'm still struggling with that. So I think certain movements are I'm just built to do, and others
Right.
I feel kind of hopeless at times. And um, but that's kind of like very niche. Thinking broadly, did jujitsu come intuitively to me? I don't think so. I think there's so many um, things about jujitsu that are almost like repulsive initially, like that. Like we're so taught to like be in people's personal space, and jujitsu totally violates that. It's like
Right.
I'm like as close to in your personal space as I can possibly get. So that initial kind of feels kind of weird. And movement feels funky. What's up is down, what's down is up. But everything
Right.
just felt kind of bizarre for me. But I loved it, and I was obsessed, and I just kept coming, and I
Yeah.
train, still to this day, like, anywhere from like 5 to 6 days a week. And, like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get. And then I started to have these little glimmers of light and hope. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, that makes sense now,
Yeah.
and I just like started collecting these little glimmers of hope. And, for better or worse, that's what my game is today. A collection of
Yeah.
those
Well,
little
clearly,
glimmers of
yeah,
hope.
training with Marcelo Garcia, it's I mean, among I'm sure many other great folks, but he's someone who holds a special place for me. I just when I watch him, I find him so remarkable. And it's always interesting to me when somebody watches something in jiu-jitsu, if they can translate it, that visual translation to proprioception. I see somebody do something, such a valuable skill because in today's day and age, you have a bajillion hours of footage you can watch. But for me, like there's no substitute for mat time. Like I need to, I'm a slow learner. I can't see it and then do it. I got to see it, give it a shot, refine it, and about a million billion times there. Um, it, and I know, when you talk about combat sports, like your relationship to jujitsu sits in, among other combat sports, and you've done uh, fought in different ways. And I'm curious, when you look at the people around you, the people you're teaching, what role competition plays in the development of jujitsu and other combat sports and the folks that you touch, and then just in general, like, do you think it's critical or do you think it's optional? I'm curious where you land on that question.
I think it really depends on what you're looking to get out of this. If you're really, there are people who are almost like physical culturist tourists, like they just kind of like check out different like physical
Yeah,
things, and that's totally fine. Like something
right.
they'll check out parkour for a year, they'll check out combat sports for a year, and I think that's all great. Like so long as you're living a physical life, that's phenomenal. But if you consider yourself kind of like a hobbyist or kind of above that level, then I think competition is critical. I think that um, you should do it. Everybody should compete at least twice. I say
Okay,
twice,
nice.
not once, because the first time maybe you win and that's great and you can hang, or the second time maybe you lose. You know what I mean? Like you should have that full spectrum of like
Yes.
what it means to win, what it means to lose, what it means to prepare. Like that. That's really because like coming from my background where it's like strength and conditioning, rehab, all that stuff. So much of what we do is to prepare us for the competitive environment or even just to prepare us for the sport
Right.
training. And so that preparation for a competition turns your training into it just has like a laser focus. It's like you have a date on the calendar that you're going to grapple at
Right.
least one other stranger who you've never met before. It's scary, you know, and people you work through the nerves, you watch you wait. There's all these kind of
Yes.
like knock on, add on effects that come with competition, and until you've experienced that at least once, right, but twice to get that full competition experience,
Yeah.
um, then you don't really understand the distinction between training and competition. It is not the same. Like it is not the same. Like competitors are a different breed than casual people who train. And even me, like I never consider myself an avid competitor. I did 2 to 3 comps per year from white to purple belt. And then brown belt and now black belt. I I haven't competed in jiu-jitsu in a while because I moved. There was some family health stuff. I
Sure.
switched gyms. I started PT school. I did do a Muay Thai fight just before PT school. Two fights technically. It was a tournament, but I did that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah,
All right, sorry, my phone just went off, and you can edit this out. My phone just went off, and I sometimes I lose people when that happens. Sorry about that.
not a worse.
So I did two Muay Thai fights just before PT school, and again, just being in camp, training uh with intent and training with focus and knowing that I'm stepping in the ring and I'm a knucklehead. I fought guys half my age, I can't just sign up for the old guy division. I gotta go fight the 20-year-old. Um and that really sharpens your focus,
Yeah,
right? And it's a different type of training. Like you don't miss training, like you do not miss training when you have a
right, right,
competition coming up. It's like, oh, it's right now in upstate New York, it's 20 degrees. It's like our first really cold day,
right,
and it feels great just to stay at home and do nothing, right?
right.
But if you got a competition coming up and you have training on the calendar, then you better go show up because
Without
it
a doubt.
matters.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah, I mean, a lot of people say you got to do it at least once, but I kind of like the minimum of two because the um the repetition from hey, I just survived it to can I take anything with me into the next experience? I think is because I'm, you know, certainly of the people of my vintage, I mean, competition is plays a role other than winning. I mean, you're doing it for other reasons other than to win, in my opinion. If you are doing it to win at my age, if you're a 55-year-old purple belt, and your life's going to hinge on a gold medal at the local competition, something's going on that you might need a counselor for, you know. But the real victories are all those things that you talked about in terms of preparation, and then what you take out of it. Do you realize you're a little more resilient than you are? Maybe you're a little tougher than you realized, or maybe you realize that you missed too many sessions. So to have that second experience, to me, gives you a chance to learn and then demonstrate to yourself that you've learned something. Um, if I'm to ask, your lizard brain, your reflective answer to what was your most memorable role or fight, sounds like you've had a number. So what springs to mind?
Um, what springs to mind? So I guess the last time I competed in jiu-jitsu was like kind of like my crowning achievement to date in
All right.
jiu-jitsu. So I had such a bad run at no-gi pans. And again, I say bad run like I'm some like avid competitor. Like I was competing in the skinny old guy division.
Hmm.
Let's be like crystal clear about that. I wasn't like in the adult division, like 18 guys.
Right.
Um I every pans because I'm from New York. I did most of my training in New York City, and so Nogi Pans was in New York, and so that was like a huge tournament for
Nice.
us
Yeah.
in the jiu-jitsu scene, right? And so from blue belt, I did it every year. Um, it rolled around, and I got disqualified one year. I like lost in the first round in another one. I
Mm.
had like Marcelo Garcia coaching me, and just like looking at me with disgust after I like kept standing up against this like guy who had much better wrestling than me. You know what I mean? And so I
Hmm.
just had like this like I gotta win pans. You know what I mean? Like I was so
Yeah.
it was just a goal that I'd set for myself. Anyway, so I had switched over to Henzo Gracie HQ in New York City. And I was training under Mike Jaramello. He's like one of Danaher's like first black belts. I think he might be Danaher's first black belt. And I was just laser focused. Like I was,
Okay.
I had told myself I was like, I'm winning this tournament. Like I'm ready to die out there. You know what I mean? Like I'm winning this tournament. And,
Okay.
and again, in the skinny old guy
I
division, let
get
me
it.
be
That's all
very,
right. Yeah,
very
yeah.
clear about that. And so anyway, so there was like four guys, or maybe it was five guys in the bracket. I had two matches, and I ankle locked both of them within like a minute and 30 seconds each. And that was like just stepping onto that like first place kind of
Right.
podium
Yeah.
like felt really good for me. Um, and got my brown belt shortly after that. So that was like a really kind of like great kind of feeling. And then I'll give you the other side of it. This is why you got to keep competing and to experience. So my last Muay Thai fight, it was a tournament. So it was WKAs, which is like a big kickboxing Muay Thai promotion. They go all over the world to compete. And I kind of put jujitsu on the back burner for a while. Like I was still teaching and training and stuff like that, but I wasn't really focused on competition. I really wanted to do a Muay Thai fight. And so my coach Chris Masseri out of Masseri Muay Thai in Kingston, New York, is really super supportive of helping people get in the ring if they choose to do that.
Okay.
And really spends a lot of time with people. I can't shout out Chris enough. And so I made a decision to first I was going to do a smoker. If you don't know, a smoker is just kind of like a unofficial fight between Muay Thai gyms. It's like, oh, hey, I got a guy, 45,
Right.
40, I was 45 at the time. Actually, I was 44. Do you have another guy who's 44 around this weight class? We'll have them do like a little fight. Both people get their hands raised. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a fight, but it's not really a fight. Anyway, so I was going to do a smoker. And then like 2 weeks before that, my opponent pulled out and he was like, but there's the WKA tournament in Delaware in August. And this was like a few months prior to that. And I said, hell yes. I was already in camp. I was already in great shape.
Okay.
I just kind of kept doing another 8 weeks of camp. And I was super excited to do that. I jumped in the ring. I had 2 fights. The first fight was young kid. He's probably like, 20, 21 years old. And I beat the brakes off of this kid. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I was
Okay.
just like it felt awesome. Um, the second fight, the second I stepped in the ring, I was like, this guy is much better than me. I
You
felt it
knew it.
immediately. Yeah. It was supposed to be like a beginner division. But then like, I became friends with the guy on Instagram after, and he had like, like 19 fights in like
Oh my
Ukraine or
goodness.
something like that. You know what I mean? So he probably should not have been in that division. I was just like, the minute I stepped in there, I was like, oh, this is going to be really bad. Um, and so I was doing okay actually, because like he had
Okay.
no clinch game. So I clinched him up. I start throwing knees. He breaks free the clinch, and the next I throw a jab, I hit him, I throw another jab, and the next thing I know, I'm looking up at the lights. Like I don't even know what happened. When I went back and watched the video, he just hit me with such a clean, perfectly timed spinning back elbow right to the
Oh my
mouth, which is
goodness.
probably like the most brutal way to get knocked out
Yeah. Oh, good Lord.
in Muay Thai. Maybe like a head kick could be worse, but anyway, so just getting up, I had like a grade 2 concussion. I had concussion symptoms for like 2 months after that.
Oh, for sure.
My wife was like, never again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
was like so those are probably like the 2 most memorable
Well, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
That's
Anyway.
disconcerting to get knocked out. That's an experience that if you haven't had, it's unique,
Sucks.
that it does. And hats off to you for, stepping into, particularly I think Muay Thai, because it's in my opinion, I'm no expert. This is just, this is a guy having consumed video over the years that it's the scariest to try. Like in all the other things that I might have tried, but I feel like, and some of it is informed by a friend of mine, an extraordinary athlete, super strong guy, went to Thailand, trained. I knew him to be in like outrageous shape. He trained for a year. He's like, Pete, I've never been in the most extraordinary shape to go do a fight in Thailand, a Muay Thai fight in Thailand. And he was in the hospital for 3 days after his experience doing that. He said, and I was just up against the very run-of-the-mill Thai fighter, but you know, like many things, if this is your sport from forever and you come in to be a tourist, it can be dangerous, and it was for him. So
Striking is so much more traumatic than
yes, I
grappling. I don't
agree.
think people
Yeah,
realize. So
no, I
like
agree.
I've now the caveat is this: grappling has more like long-term chronic injury development. Like we're putting our bodies in all these like weird positions. We're getting joints and
Sure.
our ligaments twisted and cranked, right? So you accrue a lot of injuries over time. I've never gotten like, besides the concussion, I've never gotten really hurt in Muay Thai.
Okay.
But when you do get hurt in Muay Thai, it's bad. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
It's like it's immediate. There's no question. Like, oh yeah, that injury occurred from that event. You know
Yes,
what I
it
mean?
happened right now.
Yeah, striking so much more traumatic than grappling.
Yeah, as a, whatever classification I would fall in, hobbyist or whatever you want to call the 55-year-old purple belt. I mean, I have felt a lot of trust among the people that I train with. And so my ability to avoid injury, I think, is directly connected to my lack of ego, and not needing to find out the edges of what I'm capable of. Anything that looks like it's headed in a dangerous position to the nature of my life and what I'm trying to achieve, I'd much rather tap and reset than find out, oh, turns out you ran out of talent there. That's not
Exactly.
I don't need to know that. As we were talking earlier, and it seemed like, you had an experience early in life that, you might have not been going down the road you wanted to. And as you made adjustments and jujitsu is a part of your finding the road you did want, and the one that served you much better. I'm curious, as somebody who's been bringing jujitsu to other people for a long time now, much like I asked you, like, what's your favorite story of a fight? Do you have a favorite story of how jujitsu might have affected somebody in your community in a positive way?
You know, it's tough to say because I feel like jujitsu affects so many people in a positive way. Like I
Yes.
did a post a couple weeks ago, kind of like jokey, tongue in cheek, where I said something like, most people think, oh no, no, I said people argue about what the best base for combat sports is. Is it wrestling? Is it boxing? Is it jujitsu? Is it Muay Thai? In fact, it's none of these. The best base for combat sports is to have been a complete fucking degenerate in a past life, you know. And pardon my language, but I really believe that like jujitsu attracts combat sports in general, just attract people that are kind of like a little touched to begin with. And so, like, if you like all those people could have went a very different way, like myself,
Sure.
and because they found, I think everybody on the mats, just by virtue of stepping onto the mat that that second time, again, not the first time, but that
Yeah, yeah,
second time, um, that like that person was looking for something and they found it,
yeah, yeah,
and it changes their life, and I think that's why, you know, going back to like the competition piece, like there's also like there's a camaraderie between all the people who you train with on the mats, but there's a even deeper camaraderie with the competitors, people
yeah.
that
Yes.
you're competing with. There's like you guys go hard with against each other, and in a safe way though, because you
Right,
take
right.
care of each other because you both know that you got this thing coming up, and so there's like this really deep camaraderie that occurs, and I think combat sports really is the glue that holds those relationships together. So I think, I mean, it's kind of a corny answer, but I think everybody,
Yeah, no, I
like
like it.
everybody I know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it was funny. I was invited to a social event that was revolved around, you know, just something social, right? And I'm walking around and everybody's dressed very nicely. And it's I'm looking at the relationship and interactions between those people. And there's nothing wrong with being, your social environment of choice. But I was thinking about how it looks to me when I'm walking around like a jujitsu tournament, and the interactions between those folks, even the folks who are competing against each other, there's just a quality of um, I don't know, there's a quality of interaction that feels like it steps deeper in terms of you're acknowledging who you're dealing with, because even if you win, you're acknowledge the effort that it took to get there. And then even the non-competitors, I think, are acknowledging that, hey, we are all here because it took a lot of effort to get here. And that way of organizing like relationships among people, which is to say, hey, you're trying, I'm trying. Um, and for whatever reason, and maybe, I don't think I'm unique in this, our community is just, I feel like uh less egocentric than other athletic communities where they get together, where I've noticed it's a lot more inward focus and like the endurance community for me, there's so much kind of inward lookingness, whereas because you only learn jujitsu in the context of other people, you're always sort of developing some sort of interpersonal skill because, as you say, it's unusual to wrap your legs around somebody in any other circumstance other than
Yeah.
jujitsu, right? It's just not the same. Um, Listen, love hearing your stories and appreciate you spending time with us. And I know, as your PT school goes on, like things are just going to become more interesting to you. And I would love for you to come back and talk to us
Yeah.
another time. So,
I'd love to.
Adam, yeah, it was really great. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime.
All right, brother. See you soon.